Hello and welcome back to the Film Custodian Show. I'm the Film Custodian, and today we are talking about Tar. The movie stars Cate Blanchett, and she plays Lydia Tarr, a composer. And this movie was very, very long. It was kind of a hard watch in the way that there were times when it was just really, really slow, really frustrating in the direction that it took in terms of just the filmmaking itself. You know, it was really long. But then there were other times when it was absolutely beautiful. Again, where the cinematography or the set design, I mean, whatever these apartments they're in, these houses that they're walking around in, I guess they're in Germany for most of the film, just really fantastic looking. I mean, the entire film is sort of in this black and white palette, this very gray, muted colors. You know, even everything from the apartment to the clothes that Cate Blanchett is wearing. There's definitely a style, there's definitely a color palette going on, the art direction is great. And then of course Cate Blanchett, we might as well just talk about her the whole time because she's the center of this film, right? She is the main actress, obviously, playing Lydia Tarr, and she's great. Look, Cate Blanchett is great in everything she's in. Last year she was in Nightmare Alley. She was great in that. She played the classic femme fatale in that film, where she's just, where you're basically, you're very seductive and you're trying to get the main character in trouble. She was fantastic as that. And then she just has a presence, it's just everything from her posture to her voice, everything that she does. She's just wonderful. She's great, which is why she made a wonderful Galadriel in Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit. Fantastic. Just everything from her voice, from her posture and everything, and then taking that and just kind of, amplifying it like that, Frodo Baggins, like it's so damn good. And again, because, and then of course you get the Rings of Power, and it's like, Rings of Power is stupid. Any chance I get to talk about how dumb that show is, yeah, it's just really dumb. Anyway, so Tar is... Yeah, overall, I would say it's a really good movie. There's a lot. It's trying to say a lot and do a whole lot, and I think it accomplishes a lot of it. There's a great scene in there, the scene everyone's talking about, where she basically talks down. She's on the college campus, and she basically talks down a bunch of woke people, right? So it's basically, you got this one student that's like, well, I can't get into Bach because, it goes against my principles, I guess, and he did this and that, things about Bach's past and whatnot. And then Lydia Tarr is basically just like, well, so then you're just going to limit yourself, right? You gotta work past that. If you can't separate the artist from, their personal issues or whatever they've done, you have to look at their art, which kind of is which transcends all of that, right? I mean, we've all heard Beethoven's music. We've all heard, famous music like Bach and whatnot. Because true art, it rises above, right? And that's partly what this movie is about. This movie is about a lot of things, but it's about that too, is that you're kind of, on one hand, you're asking, you're telling people not to limit themselves to just, your race, your sexuality. You need to rise above that. Don't limit yourself, because when you just limit that, like that's all you can give. Now you're within these limitations. And Lydia Tarr was basically saying you have to rise above that. You have to become more than just the sum of your parts, right? And then today, there's so many people that's their entire identity, right? Because nobody, not too many people are religious anymore. Not too many people identify in terms of like, patriotism. Patriotism has gone way down. And so what do? It's like, well, I guess I'm this sexual person. So now their entire identity is based around their race, around their sexuality or whatever. And Lydia Tarr is basically saying we need to rise above that. And, we shouldn't stop listening to Beethoven, just because he's a white guy, right? So that whole scene kind of really destroys the whole, woke narrative thing, which is good. And then, so now you have that, but at the same time, later on during the film, we see Lydia Tarr actually has a bunch of allegations come forward about her character, right? And about who she is, and about, she might, there's all these allegations from young women and whatnot. Bottom line is, Lydia Tarr is canceled. It's a fall from grace story. And so again, it kind of goes back to that conversation where it's like, can you separate the artist from the personal life, you know, who this person actually is and things that they've done? And, you know, like, can you do that? And so the film asks a lot of questions. And it is a fall from grace story. She's, you know, really popular. She's done, you know, at the very beginning of the film, they go down this whole list of accolades. You've done this, you've done this, you've done this, you've done this. And then by the end of the film, you know, I don't want to give too much away, but it's basically a fall from grace story, right? Yeah, the cinematography is great. At some points, it almost plays like a horror movie. You know, Cate Blanchett's character, Lydia Tarr, just can't get any sleep, and so she's constantly, you know, she's hallucinating. Like, she's always hearing noises, she's hearing music in different places and looking around. There's also little bits of, like, she keeps finding mazes. It's like, is somebody gaslighting her? Is it her own mind that's messing with her because she's not sleeping? She's also taking a lot of drugs. So it's a lot of, like, you know, interesting kind of undertones of sanity or insanity going on, and it kind of does come out against cancel culture. And it says, you know, that, you know, this is kind of, well, it doesn't really say if any of these things are necessarily bad or any of these things are necessarily good. I think it just asks the question, is that, you know, basically what Lydia is asking is that, are you just going to limit yourself to your, you know, your race, your sexuality, or are you going to rise above that? You're going to be something more. Don't limit yourself. You know, you need to go off and you need to try different branches of music and whatnot. You can't just say, well, I can't listen to that guy because he's a white guy. I can't listen to that guy because he did this and that, allegedly, or whatever. You know, in terms of, like, you know, in terms of in the movie when they talk about music and whatnot, and you need to be able to explore all ranges of music to, you know, well, to appreciate music, right? To appreciate, but this, again, this goes for all art, right? You don't just limit yourself to superhero movies. Don't just limit yourself to, you know, old black and white movies. You need a mix of everything. You need to see all the different flavors in order to fully appreciate filmmaking, and then to, you know, build yourself up as a filmmaker if that's what you want to do, if you want to become a filmmaker. You need to, you know, see all different kinds of voices and whatnot. And can you separate the artist from their work? And it raises questions about cancel culture and whatnot. And I think it does it very well. I think this is a good movie. Again, like I said, it's a little bit too long. It's a little bit, it can drag on a little bit here and there, but over and all, it's a good movie. There's actually one scene which I thought was kind of funny. She's she not only does she have a house in Germany, but she has an apartment she goes to sometimes, and she does a lot of composing there. And there's this, like, poor woman across the hallway. She has a mother who's sick over there. And eventually, this woman's mother dies, and it's towards the end of the film, and then you see the guys, you just see the guy, you know, like ambulance people, whatever, and then the morgue people come out of the room, and they're just dragging this dead body. I mean, you know, the body's all wrapped up and whatnot in the plastic bag, and they're taking the body down, and Cate Blanchett just kind of has to get out of the way. And I'm like, oh, well, this is towards the end of the movie. You know, the allegations against Tar have come out at this point. And I was like, oh, well, that's a little bit of a hitting the nail on the head there in terms of metaphor. Oh, her career is dead now. There it goes, you know, symbolized in that corpse. Or even her old life, you know, as sort of a much celebrated, you know, orchestra, you know, conductor. That's sort of dead now, and she has to figure out what she's going to do now. So that was kind of neat and funny all at the same time. So all in all, I recommend this movie. I think it's a good movie. You watch this movie for Cate Blanchett. You know, you watch this movie for her, obviously, but if you love music in general, yeah, this is a great movie. I highly recommend it. Go on. I will be surprised if she's not at least nominated for an Oscar, right? So, yeah, there's that. Go Galadriel. Please subscribe if you enjoyed this video, if you enjoy this channel. Go check out my other content. I talk about, you know, the House of the Dragon. I do a lot of reviews of the Andor show that's going on right now. Go watch that show. Why is nobody watching Andor? It's awesome. Go watch it. I know you have Star Wars fatigue, but go watch it anyway. All right. Well, hey, I'll see you next time.